All right, ladies, gentlemen, Mr. Deadman at the Dead Man Stone podcast. Now, on the previous episode, we talked about DMT. We had a guest who is a head priest of the Church of Cthulhu, I should say. And I'm not bullshitting you, okay? This is real. We talked to the guy for about an hour, and we tried to see whether or not he was a troll. But apparently he's the real deal. There is a Church of Cthulhu. It's real religion, a real church in Arizona. It's licensed, and it can even, they are ordained. He can marry you if you wish. Anyway, so we talked about DMT. How DMT can bring you to a whole other level, a whole other experience, get you closer to talking to Cthulhu, I guess. But I was like, wait a second. Maybe I need to listen to Joe Rogan talk about DMT and see. So here we go. Joe Rogan talked about DMT.
When you look at the DMT experience and you look at its effect on the human mind, how much of you subscribes to the idea that what we're looking at is some sort of a chemical gateway?
Chemical gateway to
what?
Chemical gateway.
To whatever that DMT experience is. That this is something that your brain has the ability to travel to. But, I mean, since we know that the body does produce this, and we know that it's possible for people to, I mean, I've never done it, but I know that people who do Kundalini yoga have apparently reported trip-like experiences that are very similar to a real DMT flash.
Yeah. And it's true. Your body does produce DMT. It naturally is produced in your body. Now, how it disperses it is, that's kind of a mystery. It's like near-death experiences, and Joe brought up an example of intense yoga. I think like the runner's high, that they might experience some, a little bit of DMT. I don't know. But a chemical gateway, I don't know about that. I mean, do people share the same experience? Is it like going VR, virtual reality, where it's like one server or multiple servers connected together? They're all there? Some sort of dreamscape? I don't know, man. It seems more like internal. But let's see.
Mm-hmm. So the mind has this ability to do this on its own. What do you think that is that something worth considering? That this is some sort of a pathway to a nearby dimension, or to something that's around us all the time, but we just don't have access to with normal neurochemistry?
Pathway to Cthulhu.
There's too many what ifs, or who knows?
No, I mean there's so much in what you said where you have to go back and unpack all of these things. When we got excited about DMT, Terrence and me, in the late 60s, what led us...
I'm listening. I just want a yes or no. Does it take you to another gate? Does it take you to another dimension? Yes or no? But okay.
To go to La Chorrera was that it seemed like a completely different order of magnitude than any of the other psychedelics. And we came to it really from a childhood that was steeped in science fiction. So we carried with us the idea, this really is another dimension. And it may be a portal to another dimension. And as science fiction nuts, we were totally...
So I guess it's a long-winded yes. It is. So you have a guy here saying that DMT takes you to another dimension. Now, I don't know how this works. I don't know if you all go to the same dimension or if it's like multiple dimensions or whatever. But apparently...
okay with that.
Yeah.
And we thought maybe DMT was, and maybe it is. Or it somehow pulls the curtain back on something that's around us all the time that we don't see. But again, in thinking about these things, is it something that is entirely within the brain that it originates, or is it something is it like a lens that, or
Man, dude, like if we take DMT, we see beyond our world. We see things that we're not meant to see around us. What if we could see them forever? That's what I'm hearing. And I'm just thinking of the song Sober by Tool. If you could stay tripping on DMT for every minute of the day, for 24 hours of the day, yeah, sure. That would be your reality. That would be your experience. But the thing is, man, it's not it. Like reality, unfortunately, reality is just, just without DMT. You know what I'm saying? Reality just kind of sucks. I would like to believe that. I mean, I haven't thought of some stories where maybe drugs, psychedelics actually let you see what's actually there. We just can't see it. What if? But then it's more like you are reacting to things that only you can see. So it's all in your head,
Our eyes are covered with filters, and DMT temporarily removes those filters. I think it's hard to know. I mean, I think...
Well, no, it's not really hard to know. It's pretty easy to... I would think it's pretty easy to experiment. Here's how you do. You get a group of people. You give them DMT. They're going to have trips. You ask them what their trip is. And if their trips are different, or if they're seeing something in the room, but no one else is seeing it, that tells you what they're seeing is in their head. And someone else is seeing something else, but in a totally different spot of the room, or it's just, there's ways you could test this out. If DMT was like, I mean, you guys make it seem like DMT is like some sort of VR headset or something. That'd be great. Hell, even if it's not, I would still recommend to try it,
Maybe experimentally we could begin to approach this. Have you, and I think we really know. I think that's another thing about natural philosophy that's important that science is overlooking. And natural philosophy always remembers the limits of what is known, and science is a bit arrogant about what they think is known. Science only understands a small fraction of all there is to know.
Okay.
And ayahuasca, another psychedelic, always remind me of this. When I take it, remember the limitations of your knowledge, or sometimes it more or less.
Well, when you take that stuff, you're tripping out. Of course, you're going to be feeling great, and you're going to be feeling like you're closer to God and feel elevated. What is this experience? I don't know. Like, how do you quantify that? How do you study that? That's the question, right? I mean, the experience you experience with ayahuasca, it's different from someone else. I mean, someone might say, but you're kind of similar in vague ways, and okay, that might just be a limit of language and how we describe things, not necessarily a shared experience. I don't know, though. I would love to talk to someone who's an expert on DMT, who's like really studying it. That's what I like to do.
Kindly says it.
Right.
You don't know shit. And it's true. We don't know shit, and scientists can forget that, But as far as this DMT thing, this is actually, there's controversy about this because,
Controversy.
A lot of people who have worked in this area say it's pretty well established that endogenous DMT can produce these states, that the pineal can secrete DMT under certain circumstances or under stress. The lungs can produce large amounts of DMT.
It's naturally occurring
to the brain.
Got that.
But it's not so clear that goes on. I mean, it's clear that it can be produced, but David Nichols, who knows a thing or two about pharmacology, founder of the Hefter Institute, world's, most authoritative, high.
Like, I want this guy to give me more. I want this guy to be like, come on, give me some studies that show DMT can have a shared experience, that what someone sees under their influence is what someone else sees. I want to know that. That's what I want to know. Okay? That's what I want to know. But I don't know.
Authority when it comes to the chemistry and pharmacology of psychedelics. He's taken a reductionist argument on this that's kind of hard to knock down, which is that DMT is produced endogenously, but it's chopped up so quickly that it never reaches the site of action, and it never reaches the levels at the neuron that it would take to activate the neuron. So
even when consumed, or are you saying endogenously produced DMT?
Endogenously.
So that
it does when you consume it. Obviously,
Right,
you flood the system and you get much higher levels than is ever produced endogenously. And
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
but we haven't really measured the levels produced endogenously during, especially these extreme states.
And that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem. How do you do that?
Have you done it?
How do you do that? What?
Have you done Kundalini and tried to recreate?
No, I haven't.
Me
done
neither.
It.
I've been. Terrence had that fantastic joke. It was a talk about that this monk had practiced the city of levitation. Do you remember this one? And that the Buddha came to town and he said, for the last 20 years, I've practiced the city of levitation and I can now walk on water. And then the Buddha said, yeah, but the ferry's only a nickel.
Right. All right.
So it's like,
I mean, you'd be
you want to
tripping.
practice Kundalini for 10 years and bang your head towards the east, or just smoke DMT.
Smoke
and
DMT.
30 seconds later, you're in the
Right.
center of the universe.
But I think the last time.
No, and that experience is great, but of course, I'm sitting here thinking, man, like I wish they would just let me know, like, is it really a shared experience? Because it seems like what someone experiences is their own personal experience, and not really shared. The weirdness of it is shared, but the specifics is not. You know what I'm saying? So if, like the guest who was on, Kurt Cave, the head priest of Church of Cthulhu, if he was, I mean, I don't think he's lying to me, but I mean, if it's true that DMT is a gateway and that it brings you closer to the ancient ones, to the strange city and world that Lovecraft described, then everyone would be going there. Like, people would be describing things of it. And that's what he says. That's what he claims. I would like to look at a bunch of, I guess, what people are describing and see if it really matches up.
When I was on your show, we talked about this
this
other thing,
conversation's
this
trippy, though.
agna light we discussed.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've interviewed.
Yeah, we have to buy you one. I said we totally dropped the ball on that.
You don't have to buy.
No,
one.
we do have to buy you
You
one.
want to buy yourself one.
I'm going to buy myself one and you one. This time we're going to do it. We said we're going to. I do too many podcasts. I forget everything.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, forgive when this happens, especially when you smoke weed and
is
do
interesting
DMT.
Because,
come on,
I mean, he claims, and that was the conversation we had. He claims, yes, this stimulates endogenous synthesis of DMT.
I'm writing this down right now. Spell it out for me.
AJNA.
skip this part.
F's on there that'll explain what this is about.
Get on that, Jamie.
Yeah.
Skip this part too.
Produce some sort of psychedelic experience.
He claims it stimulates DMT synthesis in the pineal. When you lie underneath it, it's just a bunch of it looks like a floor lamp, with a rectangular mount.
So now they're talking about how to
LEDs
induce DMT.
it, which he programs with an iPad. And
But remember, kids, DMT is illegal. It's illegal. Never mind that it's a naturally occurring compound in your body. But it gets you high. And say no to drugs. Drugs are bad, okay? Drugs are bad. They're a thing of the devil. So if you find a way to naturally create it in your body, you're just horrible. You are going against God's will. You're going against Jesus. I guess.
different patterns. You lie under it, and it stimulates hypnagogic hallucinations.
Look at him.
that
Oh,
are
wow.
a lot like
That guy looks like an old school freak. Look at him.
How many people are
Zen
trying to
monk.
do this now?
I bet he is.
Yeah.
Amongst other things.
He used to be an Apple engineer. He was
Really?
Steve Jobs' right-hand man when
Wow.
next
He went the right way.
he went the right way.
So he's got this thing. Is that cord going down to her head? I'm having a hard time seeing what's happening. So something's wrapped around her head. That better not be a
What
crystal.
I think
I'll fucking
that's
run out of this
I think
room.
I think it's a deceptive thing. He didn't
looks like a
attach
crystal.
anything to me
Oh,
when I was
it's
on it. I
perspective
think it's
issue?
the cord going
Okay.
behind her head.
Oh, I see.
So you lie under this thing, and
What the fuck? That's a
the first time I
lamp.
lied under it, I thought I got all
That's a
these
lamp.
colors. I got all these hypnagogic effects, and nice patterns and all that, like a sub-threshold DMT.
You can just stare at a light bulb. Just stare at a bright light and then look away, and then you'll see like splotches of color moving around. Or am I the only one who does that?
Experience. And I said, well, the LEDs are all changing color, right? And that's how I see it. He says, no, they're white. The colors are coming from you. You're supplying the colors. So,
Yeah,
okay.
that
So
happens.
It was interesting.
You just stare at a bright light, literally a bright light, and then you stare at like a white wall, like a drywall, and like you'll see like little color things, little flutters. Boom. No, I've had this experience. When I was 8.
And then we got into the conversation. How do you know this
Dog
is
is shitting
stimulating
herself.
DMT? How do you know that's the effect? Turns out it's not so easy to nail that down. Or anything.
So what else?
It would be gone by the time you did it. So the only way, well, maybe not the only way, but one way you could do it is you could do something called, it's essentially, you couldn't do this to a human because you couldn't get a FDA approval for it, but
For
you
what?
could put a microcapillary tube right next to the pineal that will absorb things as they are released, and then you could recover
All
that
right.
and say, levels of DMT.
All right, so now
Why-
they're talking about how to collect it. I just want to know, man. I just want to know how to, not how to experience it, but like if it really is like a shirt. Because Joe asked, "Is it a gateway to another dimension?" And then I feel like the subject kind of meandered off away from that, which happens on a very loosely formed podcast, which how happens on the Dead Man Stone podcast all the time. Hell, there's no structure really. It's just there's limit. There's a little bit of structure, but it's like anything goes in the conversation. All right, well, I feel like I'm learning stuff about DMT, but I still need to talk to an expert. So, if you are someone who is knowledgeable on this subject and knows about studies and can produce it, feel free to hit me up and we can talk about that on the podcast. Anyway, if y'all like this, subscribe, like, and share. Y'all take it easy.